Gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the numeric scale of attraction, but more specifically, I'm going to be talking about the power of two and how this concept, if you fully understand it, can help you if you go to another country or another culture, such as Ukraine, to help you to be successful in trying to find a traditional woman that you can form a long-term relationship leading into marriage. Okay, so the concept is actually quite simple, okay? But there's a few things that you have to understand in order for you to use it to your advantage if you're coming over to Ukraine to do some dating to find the woman of your dreams. And the first thing that you have to understand is hypergamy. I'm going to put a card up here. Go check that out. Once you understand that, this will make a lot more sense. So the power of two is the ability to slide around the numeric scale of attraction. I'll put a link in the description below about my thoughts about the numeric scale of attraction and how I don't really like it because it is subjective to the individuals that are involved, and it really is kind of irrelevant. But it does make sense in some situations, such as what I'm going to talk about in this video here. So we all know what the scale of attraction is. It's like when you see a woman and you say she's a 8 or she's a 6 or she's a 10 or whatever. So I want to break it down in a really, really simple way in this video. And there's a little bit of something here that's going to be a little bit hard to gauge or understand. And that is what your value is on this scale of attraction. And I've got another video coming out soon about the man's scale of attraction, because what happens is, and I see it all the time, guys say, well, I'm an 8 or I'm a 9. I think I'm a 9 out of 10. But they're judging themselves based on their own values of what a scale of attraction is. But what we have to understand is that what we judge females on the numeric scale of attraction, it's different for them judging us on the numeric scale of attraction. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but basically it boils down to this. Men and women want different things in a relationship. So let's just say that you're a number 5, back in your hometown or your home city. You're a 5. I just say 5, it's easy, okay? It doesn't mean anything, it's just a 5, it's just easy to go up and down. So you're a 5, right? And then when you come over to a country, and I'm going to use Ukraine, of over here, there is something about a Westerner who is well established, he's charming, he's well dressed, he's in shape, okay? He automatically goes up by 2 points. Now, this all comes down to supply and demand. So there's another video I'm going to put out about supply and demand as well, which is going to make you guys understand why we fare and why we do so well in certain other countries. But when you come to, it only happens in certain countries, right? So you come over here. Okay, you are seen as a person with money that is established, especially if you're well kept, that you're well dressed, and that you have confidence. You are seen as something different. There is a certain curiosity about you. And I've experienced it myself as well. Like, I don't think I'm anything special at all, especially like in the Western world. But there's something about being a foreigner that draws women to you, that makes them want to know more about you. And these women are women that you would normally consider to be, in your own country, to be out of your league. So in that scenario, if you were a 5 and you've got a 7 woman chasing you, that, if you understand hypergamy, puts you at least a level 7, right? Because women don't go down when they're chasing a man or when they want to interact with a man on a way that's going to be romantic or has the opportunity of being romantic. So if a woman who is a 7 is wanting to spend time with you, automatically it puts you up to a 7 or higher. And this happens because you are from a Western country, okay? So they see that you're most likely established, you're traveling, and all the other things that I've mentioned before about being well-dressed, well-groomed. So from her point of view, and that's why I talk about the scale of attraction is all about perception. From her point of view, she puts you at a higher status. And so when a 5 guy in his own country goes to another culture, another country, he sees a woman who is out of his league because she's a 7. He's a 5. He's only getting 5 girls back home. That's what he's used to. He goes to another country and he sees a 7 in his mind. His perception is that she is a 7 and she's wanting to spend time with him. For him, that's unusual and it's good That's pretty much what we want as well, right? We want a woman that's hotter. I mean, that from a point of attraction, that is what we're looking for. So understand this. He was a 5 back home. He's gone to another country and he's become a 7, maybe an 8, depending on who the guy is. He's met a woman who he perceives to be a 7 or an 8, 7 or 8, but she's in her own country, right? She sees herself as a 5. She sees you as a 7. She doesn't see you as a 5 or a 4 or whatever. She sees you as a 7. So the whole ideology and the concept behind hypergamy is easier to achieve. The reason that she's a 5 and not a 7, as you perceive her to be, is from supply and demand. There is a shit ton of her. There's a shit ton of the supply. So the value of that supply is less. If you go back and look at your own country and look at a 7 or an 8, the supply for a 7 or an 8 is a lot less. So the demand for that 7 or 8 is higher. So this is why guys can go over to a country and their value can be perceived as higher. You are in your own mind still thinking about the West. So you see women in these other countries and your perceived value of them is higher as well, regardless of whether it is or not. But one thing you have to remember is that the scale of attraction, depending on geographical location, slides, right? And this is a very, very important aspect of it. And this may be something that you've never thought about before. So for example, when a guy that's a number 5, let's just call him John. John leaves his country as a number 5. Nothing has changed with him. And he travels over to another country and he meets Anna. Anna is also a 5 in her country as well. And he meets her, but he perceives her to be a number 7. Let's just say 7. She is a 7. She perceives him to be a 7 as well because the reasons that I've explained before. And in that scenario, it's perfect. Hypergamy has gone across. He has seen a woman that is younger, hotter. Everything works out well, right? But here's the thing you have to think about. Unless he's going to move to her country where his perceived value is a 7 and in his eyes, his perceived value is that she is a 7 as well, it doesn't actually matter. Because think about this. If he goes back home, back to his home environment, where his social status is the same, his income is the same, he is the same person because nothing has changed, except he got on a plane and he went somewhere and he was perceived as a different value on the numeric scale of attraction. He goes back home and then she flies over here, right? From her country, she is a 5. If she stays in her country, she's a 5. If she goes over to his country, well, what number is she? She's a 7. Maybe an 8 because she's a hot Slavic woman. So the concept of hypergamy is now not there because she was marrying up to this guy, right? And now she's gone to a country where he's back to who he was. So hypergamy doesn't really work here, right? Because she's moved from her country where she's a 5, she's gone to this country where she's a 7 or 8. This guy, John, is still a 5. So it's all going to come down to perception, right? If she moves to that country and she still sees this guy, she still sees him as a catch for her. So she's going to be in an environment where that environment perceives her as a high value, right? They're going to see her as a 7 or an 8. She's going to have a higher social status than what the guy's going to have, right? And this goes right against what hypergamy is. So it's going to come down to how well can this guy look after her. And there's the perceived value there, is that she's going to look at him and think, is this guy really going to take care of me? Is this guy going to be my rock? Is he really going to look after me? Because if he's not, she has so many other options out there. And this is what you have to understand, is that you're taking her from her environment, where she doesn't have a high sexual marketplace, where her value is a 5, and you're putting her into your place, into your environment, where she is perceived to be what you saw her to be in her environment. Now, even though that may sound like a bad thing, if you can mitigate it right, if you can manage it, then you could end up with a hot Slavic wife in your country, a woman that is out of your league. And that's sort of that's the process through the whole thing. It goes from where you came from to go to where she was and meet her, and both of you think that you are winning. You both perceive the value of each other person to be higher than what they are in their natural habitat. So when you do get her to your environment, to where you live, to introduce to your own social circle, you have to make sure that she is happy beyond belief. that there's no question in her mind that she made the right decision. And this is so important because if at any one time she perceives herself to be of higher value because of that environment, then hypergamy is not going to be your friend. It was your friend when you went over there. It is not going to be your friend here. So you need to understand it, and by understanding it, you can use it. Even though even though you are of lower value than you were over here, she needs to feel that you are of higher value, and that you can take care of her and her children and your family. Because hypergamy is real. You can't change it, but you can change how your value is perceived by her. I've seen so many guys come over here and they try and build up their perceived value. They talk about their houses, their cars, how much money they make, but you really don't need to do that. Now, this is the risk when you actually do that, is that if you do find the woman of your dreams, and she moves to your country and she sort of starts to realize that you kind of were talking shit, your value is going to be diminished at an exponential rate. She's going to realize that, hang on a second, this guy is full of shit. But hang on a minute, I'm here now and there are so many other options. By building up your value through shit talking, you are doing yourself probably one of the worst favors that you could possibly do. You're building up an expectation for her. You're raising your value. You're trying to raise your value. If this is what you're doing, you're trying to raise your value so that you can have a higher value, so you can get a higher value woman. But all that's going to happen is that when she gets to your country, she's going to realize your value is here. She's going to go to your country and she's going to get a guy with a higher value than what she is. My advice, this is the advice that I give, is to, if you do meet a woman, don't talk about how much money you've got. Don't talk about how many cars you've got or how big your boat is or anything like that, because she knows that you have money. She already knows this, okay? Hypergamy has already kicked in, okay? You don't need to make it kick in anymore. If you are looking for 9s and 10s, well, you're fucked anyway. It's never going to happen. 9s and 10s go with 9s and 10 guys from Ukraine. It's just the way that it is. I don't care how many videos you've seen of socials. It's the way that it is. If you do try and build up your value, you are going to fail. You will fail in the long run. She will be disappointed. Imagine this. Imagine if she looks absolute. Actually, here's a way to think about it. This is the equivalent, and it's happened to me. Think about if you look at these beautiful photos online. Then you finally do get over there, and then you meet the woman, and she looks nothing like the photos. Well, you're pretty gutted, right? You're like, well, this is not how it is. This is not what I signed up for, right? In the photo, she's got big perky tits and blonde hair. In real life, she's short, chubby. She's got no ass. She's got no tits. When she goes over there, that's the same thing that's going to happen to her. So that's pretty much it. That's how the numeric scale of attraction slides around. It slides for you, and it also slides for her as well. So understanding that and trying to use that to your advantage while not being absolutely stupid about the whole thing, you can use it to be successful. And I'm not talking in the short term for dating, I'm talking in the long term. And one last bit of advice that I can give is that if you are one of those guys who wants to be flashy to try and build up your value, to try and get a high value woman, my advice is don't be flashy. She understands that you have money. She's looked at your shoes. She's looked at your clothes. She's looked at your watch, and she understands. She's not stupid, okay? And if you keep that shit on the down low, when she does find out about like your boat or your houses and all that stuff, and you've kept it quiet for such a period of time, it has so much impact on her. It is so much more powerful than if you told it on the first date. She will think, this guy kept this shit quiet this whole time we've been dating for 2 or 3 months. I wonder what else he's got in store for me. I wonder what else he's achieved in life. Believe me, it'll be a whole lot more powerful. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too confusing for you guys, but understanding it is essential. It's like, it is one of the fundamentals when going over to Ukraine. Don't think you can date 9s and 10s, okay? Understand where you are on the scale of attraction and understand where she is as well, and it can happen. It's all about being realistic. That's what it boils down to. That's my video anyway about the numeric scale of attraction and the power of 2. My name is Striker, and I'll see you guys next time.